Morning, Brad.
Good morning.
Morning, Brad.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Okay. How you?
I'm all right. It's unbreathable outside.
Yeah, it's not great.
Brad, I can't express how happy I am that you're on the Recovery Cafe board.
Yesterday was my first meeting,
Yay!
so we'll see. I think really like some of that's about their building, they need some help with that building for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question about this budget tracker.
Yeah.
So, I get like the top revenue part where it's like the variance is the sum of our actual revenue minus our projected revenue, right? And that shows when we haven't achieved that projection, right?
Well, hold on here. To this, I kind of changed it up. In this board meeting, I added, instead of the budget tracker in the financials, I added this approved budget versus actuals report. Because the budget tracker and the Gene has made a few suggestions. And so I've made those. And so for this board meeting, that's the first time we have a statement of activity, statement of financial position, and then I've added this approved budget versus actuals report. It's something that I can actually run through QuickBooks. So I haven't updated the budget tracker
Okay.
since last, yeah. But if they still have questions, I can try to answer them. But I
No, I'll wait. That's fine.
okay, okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Nate, was there anybody that was going to be absent today?
I wasn't sure if the mayor was going to make it, um, but other than that, nobody else has mentioned anything.
Where's Dustin? Hi, Dustin. Hi, Heather. Hi, whoever just Melanie. Hey, Melanie, I think I met your son yesterday.
At the Recovery Cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I think recently joined the board there.
Yeah, you're a real nice man.
He is.
Good job.
Thank you. I take the credit.
No, he's a real nice guy. Just made it the first time. Kind of like helping out as well with his building maintenance expertise from the library, right?
The facilities manager for the library. He's busy.
Oh yeah, he went to play with
America's Hometown Band.
that's it, the hometown band. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The tuba, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Melanie.
Morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning.
Oh, everyone's here.
I think everyone but
Gene and the mayor.
yeah, Gina and the mayor. Who'd you say wasn't coming?
didn't get word from anybody not coming. I assumed that maybe the mayor was not gonna be able to make it.
We can give it a couple minutes, see if Gene logs on, then we'll get started. Ooh, what about that air outside, huh? Yeah,
Looks like it's infiltrated your office too, Brad.
I know, right? It probably has. This building is not good. When they ask for the condition, I mark not good. They're like, is it poor? I'm like, no, it's not poor. It's just not good.
I just meant that your webcam is cloudy.
I also meant that the building is not good. I think it's that blur filter for the background. That's what I'll say. All right, it's 9:03. We'll go ahead and call our July meeting to order. Great timing.
Morning, Gene.
Gene, we were just calling it to order. Welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Welcome everyone to the July meeting. I hope you had a chance to take a look at our consent agenda, which is the last board meeting minutes and our monthly financials. Assuming you have, I would appreciate a motion to either approve as presented or amend and approve. As
Uh,
needed.
Just say now, since everybody's here, I've added, I included a budget tracker, but that was kind of a makeshift tool, but I actually got into QuickBooks and figured out how to have actuals versus the budget. So that's an additional document to kind of see how we're tracking.
I'll make
Make
a
a
motion.
motion to,
So
I'll
many,
call you second.
yeah, it sounds like a motion and a second to me. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns concerning the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Rebecca,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dustin. Gotcha. John,
aye,
Melanie,
Aye.
Annette,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
and I makes it unanimous. So thank you, everyone. I believe we only have one vote item on the agenda, the approval from the Acquisition Disposition Committee on the pass-through agreement with Dogtown LLC for 318 East Columbus. Zach, would you like to walk us through some of the details?
Yeah. Dogtown LLC, which is Phil Tevis and Bill Lett, approached us about 318 East Columbus, which was a tax sale that was available for us to ask for. We approached the commissioners a couple commissioners meetings ago, and we asked for that tax certificate, and they unanimously voted to approve that tax sale or tax certificate award to us. There needs to be a second meeting for that to be finalized, where they vote again. That has not been completed yet. We're expecting to be on the agenda on Monday, so July 20th at the commissioners meeting, to have that final approval for this tax certificate award. That said, Dogtown LLC, as many of you may know, they've done a lot of investment in the neighborhood in property acquisition. They have a lot of properties in that immediate area. That's where the city's also done a lot of investment on the Columbus corridor. So the pass-through agreement would be Basically just passing the property through them at cost, plus our minimal man hours fee that we attach. And this is only one property. It's a very small lot. And they had acquired it as a tax certificate before. There were lots of liens though that were time sensitive, so they were only going to fall off with time. They couldn't. It was a lot of money, so it wasn't feasible to pay it off. But those have since fallen off. So now the certificate, besides the delinquent taxes, is generally clear. Any questions on that?
Thanks, Zach. This had a favorable recommendation from the A&D committee. I would entertain a motion to approve the pass-through agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any further comments, questions, or concerns regarding the pass-through agreement for 318 East Columbus with Dogtown LLC?
Do we need to add something? Because I think Zach said it's not official from the commissioners yet. It's like pending the final vote of the commissioners, or did I misunderstand?
No, I think there's a second meeting and we can make it pending if we would like to do that. We could just make it a conditional approval pending satisfaction by the county commissioners, however you want to word it. Right, Zach, you said there was a second meeting.
Yes, there needs to be.
There's no indication though that they would hesitate.
No, I mean, the communication from their legal has always been a little bit difficult for us. The communication we got, not to get too into the weeds, was that they don't own it, which we understand that they don't own it. We're asking for it as a certificate, which is a different legal mechanism the commissioners have. That's how we're asking for it. And based on Indiana state statute, it says that there needs to be two separate meetings. One to start the process and then one again, which essentially gives the owner time to intervene if they're there. But yeah.
Has the first meeting occurred?
Yes.
That was at the beginning of this month, their first July meeting.
Do you want me to add motion to approve the pass-through agreement conditional on the final approval of the certificate transfer by the county commissioners?
Who made the motion?
Me.
John.
Would you like
I'm
to?
fine with that.
Motion?
I'm fine with Heather's amendment.
Yes, Heather, please make it so. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns regarding the pass-through agreement? Hearing none. Call the question. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Rebecca?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dustin? His audio is not working, so he's gonna give us thumbs up. Gene?
Oh, I'm going to abstain because I have a business relationship with one of the owners of Dogtown.
Melanie? Sorry, the order changed on my screen.
Aye.
And Annette?
Aye.
And I makes it unanimous. Well, makes it 8
I have
with
to
one abstention. Passes. Thank you very much. That is the only voting item we really had lined up for the day's agenda. The rest of this is going to be updates from staff regarding work and around our committees, starting with the acquisition disposition. We've been we've been putting together like a central document where the organization's policies and procedures can be found and kind of referenced for staff and everyone a little bit more easy. Zach's been doing a heavy lift on that. Zach, do you want to?
Yeah.
There should be two documents. I'm sorry, Zach. There should be two documents in there. One's marked up and one's not. One's going to be easier to read than the other one. So just bear that in mind. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, so this has been a couple month long process so far. I think I mentioned that we were doing this last board meeting. Uh, in the current state, we don't really have, super laid out policies and procedures for how we have, come to operate, in the past year or so. There were existing policies and procedures that were passed back in 2020, and we also had a new policy, for acquisition and disposition that we created at the beginning of 25. Um, and in this document, it basically combines all of those, with some changes, suggested changes based on how, staff has come to operate around these things, eliminating anything that we have determined to be an unnecessary barrier that's not required by the bylaws or by state code, um, as well as adding new things that we think would be important, for us to follow, but also in the event of staff turnover, that future staff of the land bank would also follow, so that our processes don't, dramatically change. Because I mean, a lot of the things that we do are just in Nate and I's head, so it's good to have these things laid out. Um, the policies and procedures manual includes, everything regarding acquisition and disposition, as well as maintenance of properties. Um, there's existing policies on, spending and transactions, or if there's a financial policy. And then a new policy that we've created that's added in there is a seller financing policy. So unlike the rest of them, that one is almost entirely new. And that's something that's, definitely, less. It's definitely still in the works. There's a lot of suggestions that the A&D committee made, a lot of suggestions that Brad made, and it's still a work in progress. We're still learning, so those changes are going to continue to be made. But I'm bringing this up here and I'm making those documents available. And I don't expect you to read it all right now, but if you have the time as a board member to, review those documents and make suggestions and comments, if you have any concerns, I'm happy to integrate those, into the policies and procedures manual. Because again, this isn't just about how Nate and I operate, it's how the organization would operate moving forward, with or without us. So we want to make sure that this is, again, comprehensive in what we do. But yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the gist of it. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. And if there's an idea for a specific policy or procedure document that you'd like to add to that whole that you don't think the rest of it covers, I'm happy to work on that, as well. Sorry, Brad.
It is about a 40-page. Oh, no, you're fine. It is about a 40-page document, so if you want to go through all of it, that'd be super appreciative. However, if you're like, hey, I'm not sure about a couple of the things that we already do, but I know my speciality or whatever is in this, you could go into that portion of the document and just leave comments there if you'd like. Well, I guess what I'm saying is all of you don't have to do the entire thing if that seems like a heavy lift, and you could piecemeal something out that is kind of your wheel locked.
When are we anticipating that are we going to like approve this as a board, or do you want us to review it by a certain date?
I would say, we will, want to approve this as a board, so it becomes our organizational policy. I'm not going to press that it's necessarily an immediate need. So I would say generally get to it when you're able to. Because I'm going to continue making changes, at least over the next month. So I wouldn't say I want to rush it. I guess this is something that I'd want to have done before the end of the year, which I'm not saying please wait until December until you add comments. But don't stress it if you can't get to it immediately.
Yeah, and it is something we need to pass because while it does have like some old policies and procedures in which we've already enacted, it's going to have some new ones, and there might be some small tweaks along the way. So it'll definitely need to be formalized. Are there
I
any other
have a
questions?
quick question. Yeah. The portions of the policies and procedures that are have been passed and are active now, are they available on our website?
No, our bylaws are available on our website, but our policies and procedures are not, because it's not super clear as to what like when we passed a new policy at the beginning of 2025, the general consensus, I think, between Nate, Brad, and I, when we've discussed it, is that that overrides the policies that came before. And we didn't necessarily intend to do that. But that's why we want to create this new document that includes everything. So it's very clear what our policy is. Because I would say right now, it's not really super clear what our policy is.
Also, there's never been a centralized document
Yeah.
for all of our policy. I know that sounds weird, but we've kind of created a policy for doing and a procedure for doing specific things along the way of doing this land banking. And we've never just kind of put it into a document, right? Like synergized it in a way. So the other thing is that some changes, even before 25, changes going back to like 21, that we made tweaks to our policies and procedures were never fully like identified, or they were just kind of side noted in that document. So, years later, it became a little bit more difficult to figure out what was going on. So it all became the impetus to unwind it, put it out in one document, and make sure that we had it all. And now everyone could look at it and be on the same page.
And when the document is passed, it'll go on the website.
Yeah, we would publish it. Yes.
Just for nostalgia's sake, and I think that some of us in the room remember Marta Moody working on the original policies and procedures for the land bank. She did a tremendous amount of work, and it's been a great guidepost for the past 6 or 7 years. So I'm glad that we're revising it.
And her work really remains the foundational work for the vast majority of the policy procedures. And the changes, for the most part, are wide ranging. They're like tweaks to certain aspects. When we decided to take on structures, right, we had to create a structures policy, stuff like that. Unless there's any other questions or comments about the process and document, I'm going to move us along to the next item, which is an inventory update. Zach, you're going to
Yeah. So we have closed. We've done 4 separate transactions in the past 2 weeks. 314 East Myrtle was closed. 2116 North New York was closed. 600 East 8th was closed, and then 22 properties in the Old West End were just closed yesterday. So we're going to see some revenue coming in, which is going to change those budget numbers Nate has shown for the next board meeting. But our inventory has decreased to 44 deeds. Most of those are concentrated now in Industry and Whiteley. There's still 3 remaining in the Old West End project that we're waiting to sell, to intend. Those are getting new surveys done to update and correct the legal descriptions, as well as one is waiting on demolition. And then once that release is issued for that demolition, then we would transfer that. So there's 3 remaining in that project. We have 8 certificates that are waiting to mature. That's going to happen late this October, and we probably get the deeds in around the end of December, beginning of January. And we'll likely run those through quiet title action. So there's 8 of those. And that brings our total property sold up to 129. Yeah, that's all for my inventory update. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Did that include the disposition of 8th in New York and Myrtle?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. Let's move on.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I don't
please.
know if we're going to talk about this, but the pictures in the box of New York look really nice.
Yeah, I completely forgot. I'm sorry. So 2116, just some backstory. That's when we got from the foreclosure or the sheriff's sale. And it was fire damage upstairs. So I showed this house to, I think, 4 separate individuals. Plus we had other contact with people who were interested. The fire damage was kind of, disincentivizing to do the work, but the neighbors really wanted it to be done. They were concerned about the house. I mean, it's a nice neighborhood. It's a nice area just north of campus. So there's a lot of potential. And this couple has taken on the property, and it's only been, a couple weeks, and they have completely reframed the top portion. You can see in those pictures, they started putting on new siding. They said they're doing the roofing today. The building commissioner's already approved the reframing work that they've done. So they're moving forward. So they're moving quickly, and that's great because it's, taking care of this blight that was really sticking out in the neighborhood, which we're very, very happy about. So I encourage you to take a look at those pictures. It has completely changed already. And there was a nice letter in there that they found in the fireplace when they started doing the demo from the family that was there. It's a very sweet letter, but Nate also said that they came and they talked to them, and they were really excited that this rehab was happening, which is, a great human interest story that I hope we can share as this, rehab wraps up. But it's very exciting. Thanks for bringing that up, Rebecca.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Rebecca, for all your help in figuring that out and getting us connected to different people. And yeah, Rebecca was very involved, gave up a lot of time. Appreciate it.
You want to move us into fundraising?
Yeah. We submitted our yearly kind of operations support proposal to Ball Brothers Foundation for $45K. We submitted a $3,000 proposal to the Office of Community Engagement through their Building Better Neighborhoods Fund to support our intern Daniel Van Dyke, who's been leading the development or the completion of this corridor plan that we've been doing for the 812 Coalition. And John's been working with Daniel, giving him guidance, and I feel like we're landing on some great stuff here that I think is going to be useful to the 812 Coalition. That's been approved. Is that correct, Heather? Yeah. So that's through. That's great. It's nice to have interns that we can get other people to pay for. I don't know if it's been updated on your end, but it says $40,000 grant proposal will be has been submitted to Centerpoint Energy. Is that what it reads to you all? Oh, 50, or I updated it. So actually, I got to do a little bit of cleaning up. Want to spend some time talking to Annette because we're collaborating with Pastone, hopefully on this. But we're going to ask for $75,000, and that will be submitted by tonight at 11:59 p.m. And yeah, Jack mentioned we've finally got those last 22 properties from Intend passed off. And so that brings in $107,000 for the land bank. So we're catching up, which will be reflected in next year's or next month's financial statements. Moving on to programs.
Before you do, I just
Yeah.
For some of us who've been on here for a minute, and we're probably used to it, our budget always hits a lull in the June, July era as we went through the first part of it, and we end up getting our funding and stuff through the last cycle of the year. For some of you and those watching that might not be used to it, that's why the numbers look the way they do. That's why the proposals are out there. Kind of, it's just the way the cycle works for our calendar. We run a calendar year, fiscal year as well, and it always just hits us in the middle.
And yeah, I don't know if Zach mentioned, I don't know if we talked about this last board meeting, but the funding, the line item in the Ready 2.0 budget that was allocated to the land bank, we've got that worked out. And so that's going to be being, most of that's going to come into our budget in the near future as well.
Yeah, I went through and reconciled, grabbed all the invoices, put it in a spreadsheet, organized for specifically costs attributed to Old West End properties. And they asked us specifically to add a 10%, maintenance fee for our end. So we're essentially through this line item getting costs that we thought were sunk back for these properties to the tune of up to 75,000. We're at 60, I think, so we're close. And they've also said that they are willing to continue reimbursing us for maintenance expenses beyond that 75 once it's run out. So that's not a hard cap.
Yeah, Zach worked really hard on that, and we're almost to the finish line there. First Friday,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. First Friday, moving on to programs, was canceled July. And then this upcoming First Friday, August 3rd, we're inviting back in Tend, Indiana. Ashley Bridges is the director of their Build Fund, who we've been getting to know better. We brought her to Muncie and introduced her to, we went out to the Whiteley neighborhood, had a big meeting with a bunch of business entrepreneurs from mostly industry neighborhood. They're very interested in building a program here in Muncie, and we're trying to be kind of a liaison for them. So anyway, she's coming to our First Friday meeting and present in August. Quick update on kind of our partnerships, we're calling them, partnership programs in industry. Again, we have a kind of a coalition of stakeholders: Habitat for Humanity, Urban Light, Pathstone's kind of in there. And we have a consultant that Habitat has been working with, directing them towards this project that's coming back into town. And we're going to have another series of meetings. The focus has been a lot on like how we can support the business community and industry. So anyways, we're going to have a bunch of follow-up meetings. I think not this next week, but the following week. Whiteley Partnership, we continue to have lots of conversations. Well, some conversations. Everybody's busy, so sometimes it's hard to get everybody in the same room, but lots of individual conversations I'm having all the time with our kind of leadership council. And the Centerpoint Energy Foundation grant that I mentioned before, it's focused on Whiteley. And so they had given us 30 last year, and we're asking for another chunk to continue this process. Again, it's and we're talking about as a 3 to 5 year process to do all the kind of pre-development work that we do to kind of create the conditions so that some really great, healthy development, community driven, can happen. And we are working with, one of the big conversations we want to have right now is how we're going to use Plan, the third year planning studio, that's partnering with the land bank out in Whiteley. And that's active. There's a lot of things there happening, a lot of energy. So I'm really excited about all that work. Old West End, we continue to kind of trying to get ahead a little bit, thinking about phase 2, thinking that we're sitting on a catalyst right there close to downtown. What can we do to kind of help create a new vision, or a vision for what could possibly come? Kind of, it's almost like putting the puzzle pieces together. And we have an intern, Nathan Hogel, an architecture student, that's kind of helping us with that process. And that's also something that we've gotten funded through immersive learning grant from Ball State through Tom Collins and his work, which is focused on trying to get a conversation started about pre-approved designs in Muncie. And that's once we get a little bit more clarity on what that's going to look like, because the land bank is a partner there, I'll share more. But again, another intern that we've been able to get funded from outside sources. 812 Coalition, Daniel Van Dyke, I mentioned, he's working to kind of bring to completion this corridor redevelopment plan that was started by Ruby and Xander. And that's something that we'll hopefully be passing off by the end of August to the coalition. And hopefully it's a tool for the new director, Suzanne Clem. and yeah, the 812, all the different organizations that are working there together. Oh, I guess I did include something about the pre-improved housing design program. The only thing I would add is that last point, if you're reading along on the agenda, is that one of the ideas to maybe use Whiteley and our work in Whiteley as kind of a pilot of showing the really kind of like what the process could look like involving the community. And then maybe something that's kind of replicated across other neighborhoods across the city. That's something that, we'd love to talk more about with the city, and see where there's collaboration, where there's interest, and where we can kind of niche into maybe a larger vision for something like that in Muncie, which is something that you're seeing in places like South Bend, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. So any questions about all that?
I'm real interested in seeing a pre-approved housing design program. I mean, I think that one of the big missing pieces in South Bend is there is no ground level floor, like single floor ground level house design. So like if you have mobility issues, right?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in what Muncie comes up with and how that
Yeah.
process rolls itself out. I think that's great, though. I think it's interesting. I think it's super timely with the UDO happening over the next 14 months here in Delaware County. I think there's a lot of opportunities for Muncie and Delaware County to kind of get ahead of some of the zoning, housing, development issues that have plagued old zoning laws and old building, traditions, if you will. And now's the chance, right? You got the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance that'll be one for the city and one for the county, and then you've got Tom Collins's project moving forward, and really like that could look very similar to zoning being in areas according to use.
Yeah, just one more bit. So that's the architecture department and urban planning. Tom was the one that kind of was the catalyst for getting that grant. But the hope is to kind of use the urban planning studios, architecture studios to kind of slowly develop a process. And what we're thinking again for Whiteley is, working with the neighborhood to identify, what areas are appropriate for what kind of development. There may be certain areas where they want, certain kinds of designs that are maybe more market rate focused. Other areas that might be focused on rentals or duplexes. Some areas more commercial, and then kind of creating designs that could help facilitate that and like fit into a disposition process for the land bank specifically. And also thinking about what kind of designs would be most accessible for kind of smaller local developers, and be something that maybe lowers costs, makes it easier for somebody kind of take on. And then what are the other some other tools that we can maybe help develop to kind of create a little package for supporting local infill. And so the designs would be a big part of that. So yeah, I guess moving on to the last bit. I don't know, Heather, if you want to share a little bit there.
Just very briefly, Zach is really taking on the heavy lift of this portion of the strategic planning process, which is communicating with the folks that we want to invite to focus groups and individual interviews, and sending out all of those emails to connect those people with Steve, our consultant, so that those can get scheduled. So that's where we're at right now, is scheduling those meetings, information gathering. And I'm sure that many of you will either be invited to one of these, or, we'll all be at least tapped when we do the board retreat. So things are moving forward.
Good. Thank you, Heather. Thanks, Zach. That should put us at the end of the agenda. Sorry. Are there anything that we should discuss the board hasn't discussed for the good of the order? Our next meeting's here on Zoom, August 21st at 9 a.m. First Friday is first Friday. I don't. Does anyone have anything else? Hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I have one motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
I got a second. Does anyone object to adjournment?
Who was our motion? Sorry, I missed it.
Motion was Gene, second was Annette. Any objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend. Be safe out there. The air is not safe.
Thank you.